Hey guys, it's Kim from Dodges and Daisies, and I just wanted to welcome you back to my channel. It has been a while since I've made a video, and I wanted to give a quick explanation of that. As most of you who are subscribed to this channel know, I deal with chronic illness. In my case, I'm still in that very in-between stage of figuring out what the diagnosis is and what the treatment and the medical plan is. I have a couple of diagnoses already, but I think the main one, the one that we're still working on figuring out, is not kind of been fully figured out. I'm not on medication for it. There is no treatment plan at the moment. So I've just been kind of really sick without a way to kind of solve the sickness. Because of that, my days have been spent almost entirely in bed. It's just gotten progressively worse, and until recently, I really just was too sick to even continue creating. I have recently started getting 1 or 2 days where I felt well enough to be out of bed. I've slowly, behind the scenes, been working on various journaling projects during those 1 or 2 days a week that I have. I'm just kind of trying to build up content so that when I did come back, I did have a few things that I could share with everybody. I've taken time off of Instagram, which I really don't do a lot, and obviously taken time off of YouTube. And anybody that's patient with me and been patient with this process, I just want to say that I appreciate you guys. Thank you for sticking around. Please know that it's only illness that is preventing me from making videos and making content. It's never in my heart not to. I really truly enjoy YouTube. I really truly enjoy Instagram and connecting with everyone and being a part of the journaling and snail mailing and paper crafting communities. So it's a joy to be back, and I hope to have 3 videos out probably within the next month or so. But yeah, fingers crossed. And like I said, I did wait to kind of release a video when I felt like I had a little bit of content to share. I'm really hoping now that I've been slowly building up content here and there as I could, little by little, that I'll be able to kind of come back to socials and share a little bit of what I've been working on with you guys. So today's video is the journals that I am using in 2023. I know that a lot of people do release these kinds of videos in December or January. I just was too sick to do any kind of full planning of that magnitude during this time. But I don't think releasing it in March is terrible, because I think a lot of times the things that we buy in the beginning of the year, we kind of are still figuring out what works, what doesn't work, what we like, what we don't like. And I think usually a couple of months in, we've kind of decided I'm going to use this journal for this purpose, or I thought I was going to use a planner, but I switched to a bullet journal, or whatever. I don't think making these kinds of videos a couple months into the year is that bad of an idea, because I think sometimes we're still kind of figuring things out and ironing out the kinks. I do want to say I want to apologize up front for 2 things. We do have a bit of disconnect with the lighting today. It is the afternoon. There's sunshine on part of my desk, shade on the other part. And I also misplaced my microphone. I'm not sure what I did with it, so I am using a different headset. So if there's a wire that at any time comes into screen, I just apologize. But I kind of had to make the video when energy and health allowed, and I would much rather make something and get some content out there and reconnect with you guys than not. So if this isn't a perfectly technical video, I do apologize for that, but my heart was really just to come back and share and connect again. So now that it is March, I'm pretty settled on the journals that I have been using this year. Like I said, I normally only get a day or 2 a week that I feel healthy enough to get out of bed and create, but I've been definitely taking advantage of those times as much as possible. I'm pretty settled with the journals that I'm using and really in love with some of them, so I'm looking forward to sharing with you guys. The first journal that I'll share with you guys is my daily planner. I am using a 2023 planner from Midori paper. If anyone isn't familiar with Midori, they are the parent company of Traveler's Company, which makes Traveler's notebooks, and I think most of you guys should be fairly familiar with Midori or Traveler's Company. Last year I was really happy. I had a very big planner that I decorated, but it was, a pre-made planner, so I didn't have to plan everything out like a bullet journal. But what I noticed was that I take so much medication, so many supplements every day. I have doctor's appointments that are sometimes scheduled months in advance. And I also like to kind of track my symptoms every day, days where fatigue or pain are better or worse, or, breathing issues are better or worse, all the myriad of things I deal with. And I was really specific with what I was looking for. I wanted a daily planner where each page was reserved completely for one day, because I felt like with the amount of things that I need a planner for, that just fit what I was needing. Just personally, this isn't a decorated notebook for me. So all of my journals and planners and bullet journals have always been decorated. This is the first year I'm not decorating my daily planner, and it's because I just have so much to record. So I use the top section for like a to-do. I use this middle section for medication and supplements that I take. I actually take so much that the entire section here is reserved just solely for me marking down when I take my medicine. And then I use this section over here to record my daily symptoms. Not decorating this has been really weird and uncomfortable for me because I always decorate my planners. Yeah, it's also kind of been a relief that during the season where I've been so sick that I haven't been able to craft as much, that there's not that pressure that this needs to be decorated. That is my daily planner. Like I said, it is Midori paper. I personally think this is a really, really beautiful planner. I think it's a good size where it can fit in your purse if you need to take it somewhere. I really enjoy the fact that each day has a full page where I can use it for whatever I need. And I also think it's really pretty. I don't know if this is leather or vegan leather, to be honest with you, but I found it to be just simple, classy, pretty, and I'm really, really happy with this Midori paper planner. Next up, I did start 2 bullet journals this year, which I haven't bullet journaled in a couple of years. It was something that I used to do every day, and I switched to a planner to be a little bit easier, but I was missing bullet journaling, so I bought 2 bullet journals from Notebook Therapy. I have wanted Notebook Therapy bullet journals for as long as I can remember. I have always thought they just looked so beautiful and so well made. They're hardcover. The spines on them always have really cute decorations. The front always has really cute decorations. So just if you're putting them on a bookcase, they just look really, really pretty. They also have gilded pages with designs. I don't know if you can see or not, but the designs on the gilded pages are gorgeous. I really love this one because it had daisies. They always come with these straps to help keep them closed because, as everyone knows, journals can get quite chunky. The backs always have these little pockets, which is great for storing things that you need to work on. And the pages themselves are just really, really beautiful. The way these books are, they lay flat really easily. I've noticed working on them, I haven't had to use any kind of paper clips to hold them open just yet. The pages are really, really thick. I mean, really thick, to the point where not much really goes through them. I've had one marker bleed through, but the rest haven't. And sometimes glue sticks make them wrinkle a little bit, but they really are very thick, tough pages. So for most of what you're doing, they're gonna hold up pretty well. The first one that I'll share with you is the smaller one. I did get, I believe this is a B6 and I believe this is an A5, if I remember correctly. I had originally thought the A5 would be really easy to work in because it's kind of just a medium size, and that I was a little intimidated by the B6. What wound up happening is that the B6 wound up being so easy to work in. All of my spreads just flowed so easily. It was the most comfortable notebook I've ever worked in. And the A5 has been such a struggle. I mean, every single layout in the A5 has been hours of work for me. It's been so difficult for me to figure out how to work in the size journal, which I just find funny because obviously you can see I work in very similar size journals all the time, but for whatever reason this one has been a struggle. I think the more that I create in it, the more I'll get used to it. But let me jump into these two main journals of 2023, what I'm using them for, and why it's personally important to me. So the first one is my coffee shop journal. The reason I started this was because, as I mentioned before, the majority of my days are spent in bed. I've been eating on a tray in bed. I spend days, sometimes weeks at a time, where the fatigue is just so strong that I can barely move. It's been a really, really difficult season of life. If I do happen to have a day where I'm strong enough to get out, or a day, say I have a doctor's appointment and I want something like fun to look forward to afterwards, what I've been doing is going to coffee shops with my husband. This is something that, with the energy level that I have on a good day, it doesn't expend that much energy. Sometimes if I feel well, we'll walk around that town a little bit and see the town that the coffee shop is in. But it's just been something that's been really, really positive, where I feel like, okay, I have some kind of quality of life. We're doing something fun. We're getting out. We're grabbing coffee. We're sitting in a nice shop. We're having a conversation. And to me, not only was this something that I've been wanting to do for a while, because we go to so many different coffee shops that I kind of wanted to chronicle them and record them, but it's also been a source of like positivity. So when every single day just seems the same and difficult or depressing or hard, these bright little days out are just really wonderful to my soul. They bring a lot of joy. They make me kind of feel like I have a little bit of my life back again. And then what happens is I record things while there, I take pictures while there, and then when I get home on another stronger day, journaling about the experience kind of helps me relive that experience again. So I'll look through the pictures, I'll read through the notes, I'll create a spread, and it's almost like I get 2 good days because of that, because I'm reliving the experience of the coffee shop and the town that we explored. You know, if we saw a new town or did something different, it's just been a really, really positive just way to stay thankful and focus on the good, and despite a difficult time. Just like any other bullet journal, this one has pages in the beginning that are kind of like, like explain what the bullet journal is, and then I have these spreads, throughout. So this first opening page is just a coffee shop log. It says the coffee shop, the overall rating, the location, and I have, left room for quite a lot to visit. So far, 8 have been visited. It's been over the course of a couple of months, so you can see kind of whenever I've had the opportunity to get out, this is what I've been doing. And it's slow going, but that's okay. Like I said, I kind of get the experience twice because I get to journal about it afterwards. Here I have a spot for favorite coffee shops. Right now I just have these filled out, but I have left quite a bit of space as we continue visiting different coffee shops to record my favorites. And because this book is so big and will probably be so chunky, I just really liked this as kind of like a just way to see my favorites at a quick overview. Here starts the coffee shop journal. So in each, I've rated the aesthetic and decor, the quality of coffee, the location of the shop, and my overall experience. These are not like technical numbers. The overall experience might not fit the other things. I take kind of the whole experience into account when I do that last number. It's not like a mathematical formula, but more of just like a heartfelt how I feel about it. On each, I always include the date visited, also just any kind of information about the coffee shop, usually the address. And finally, I have personal notes. So I will take pictures. I always make sure to get the outside and at least 1 or 2 of the inside. And then I write down personal notes, just thoughts about that particular coffee shop. also, I've been trying to make a point of, if the coffee shop does have a vinyl sticker or a business card or a coffee cozy, just something with their logo on it, just to have like a physical piece of the day. Any of you guys that have watched my local travel journals, you know that I really, really enjoy getting a piece of ephemera from the day. I just feel like it's a really authentic piece to put in a journal, like a travel journal. There's just something that kind of brings you back to that time and that place if there's like a physical piece of that day that is in the journal. I will probably do a separate video just on my coffee shop journal and just on my reading journal, which is this other one, but I'll just do a quick flip through for you guys here. You can see that I do have coffee cozies and vinyl stickers on as many things as I was able to obtain, and that there's photos, always the name of the shop, and always just kind of the same ratings and information for each. And, you know, I'm honest. This is a book that I'm not, you know, going to sugarcoat anything. So the things that I really love, I'll say that I really love. The things that I didn't really love, I'll say that I didn't really love. And, you know, it just helps me too if we, you know, go back and visit, to just remember the places that I would want to revisit or good experiences that we've had. That is my coffee shop journal, and like I said, I am planning on doing a separate video solely for this and solely for this, but I just wanted to give you guys an overview of that. Next up is my favorite journal this year, and this is this V6 Notebook Therapy reading journal. Similar with the coffee shop journal, not only is this for fun, but there was like a very real significant reason of why I started a reading journal. I used to absolutely love reading. When I was a child, I was a really big reader. Like I would read a book in a day or two, like every single day. I like lived at bookstores and I just loved it so much. But as an adult, I found that my attention span is less, and it's been harder and harder for me to complete books, and then adding in the whole aspect of chronic illness has been a whole other challenge unto itself. So I deal with really severe brain fog some days. I deal with forgetfulness some days. My attention span is much less after getting sick as it was beforehand. You know, there are some days, even just physically, not even mentally, that just holding a book or, you know, just keeping my eyes open is difficult. So I really was struggling with knowing that I needed to kind of give my brain a workout, just like you would give your body a workout, right? I knew that there were certain things that were affecting my mental cognition and, you know, my mental processing. And I wanted to make a point of exercising my brain. I knew that I was struggling to do that. So I thought, if I create a reading journal and I create a log, and I'm going to do it really, really simply, I'm just going to ask myself to read either one chapter or half an hour a day. And I also left that open to audiobooks. So like if there's a day I don't feel up to physically holding a book or reading, an audiobook is okay, as long as I get that half an hour or that chapter in. And I knew personally, I'm somebody that really likes lists, and I really like checking off boxes or filling in boxes. I knew that like holding myself accountable to something would help. And also, I felt like working in a really beautiful journal, filling out my reading journal spreads once I completed a book, would be motivating for me. What I didn't realize was just how motivating it would be. I can honestly say that there have only been a couple of days since starting this that I haven't read in some way, whether that was a physical book or an audiobook. And it's just become a daily habit now. I've found that my attention span has increased drastically. There have been times that I've read like 6 hours a day, and that would never, ever would have happened before. I feel like it's becoming a pattern. I feel like it's becoming something that I've just incorporated into every day. And I feel like it's becoming fun again. Like I'm having so much fun reading, and that just had been missing from my life. So this little book Not only has it been the most fun to work in out of anything that I've worked in, but it has genuinely created a habit in my life that has taken hold and worked. And I have to say that the goal that I had of kind of giving my brain that mental exercise that it needed every day has fully been accomplished. So I am just over the moon that this worked and that reading has become a part of my life again. There will definitely be a separate reading journal video and subsequent videos, you know, as I read more books and share more spreads. But I did just make a regular cover page. I started in March 2023, even though I started with books that I had read like in January. But I left this open. This is not a 2023 reading journal. This is simply a reading journal. I did not want to put any kind of pressure on myself to read a certain amount of books in the year, read a certain amount of books in a month. I knew that my health and just things like that came along with my health, like brain fog and attention span, were going to be obstacles. So I knew going in that I wanted this to be a really gentle thing. I wasn't going to require much of myself. I was going to keep things simple. I listened to a certain therapist on YouTube, and she was talking about when it comes to habits, choose what she called low-hanging fruit. And what that really means is when you're wanting to incorporate a habit or start a habit in your life, start with something simple that you know you'll be able to get done. So don't start with something that will be really difficult, and when you don't get it done, you're just going to be so discouraged and throw your hands up and say, oh, that didn't work. Start with something that's going to be easy to accomplish, because when you start accomplishing that and seeing your goal kind of be met and take shape, it's going to motivate you to do more. So she talked about being gentle when you start out with things. So for me, what was easy for me was just starting a reading journal with no expectations of how long it would take me to finish. If I did finish it in a year, that's awesome. If it took me 2 or 3 years, that's okay too. I also started off with books, and I'll go to the next page, which is books read, that were very easy for me to read. The Shady Hollow murder mysteries are adult books, but they're very, very easy reads. They're reads that aren't complicated. They are just kind of fun, cozy mysteries. They're just easy to read. They're easy to finish, and I personally enjoy them a lot. I saw them recommended from a couple of different people, and I fell in love with them. They are murder mysteries, but they are with woodland animals instead of people. And even though they're written for adults, there's just kind of a very whimsical, childlike, I don't know, wonder that comes along with them. The authors did a great job on them, in my opinion. So I did read the first 3 in the series that are out. I'm currently reading the novella that is out, and I know that in the fall they'll have a 4th full novel out. So starting with something that was just an easy read, just fun, for me was like picking that low-hanging fruit. This is a book that's a very short read. You can definitely read it in a day. The author said he kind of wrote it for anyone from 8 years old to 80 years old. Like, a child can enjoy it, but it's deep enough where you can kind of spend every day thinking about the quotes in it. It's just as much for adults as it could be for a child. And just kind of starting off with fun, easy, whimsical reads was the way I started off, and the way I was able to kind of get a roll on this. And then it became easy. And I was able to finish 2 books that I had started again and again and again and just hadn't been able to finish. I do believe that I had finished The Great Gatsby, but like 20 years ago. But anytime I had tried to pick it up, I would get like halfway through and then not be able to complete it. And Pride and Prejudice, again, I just kept picking it up and putting it down and picking it up and putting it down. And I was able to complete both of these, which was just it made me feel so good. And it really just was like just a boost of confidence to keep reading that I got 2 classics done. These pages are going to be more like this. Every time I finish a book, I will print it out and put the book cover in there. And I did that because I'm not printing out and putting the book covers in my spread. I'm just writing them down. I do have a place for favorite books. I do have to fill this in a little bit more because there have been a few more favorites since I've started. That's what these pages will be for. I did do a very simple books I would like to read. I know that people that have like very serious Bookstagram accounts or reading journal, channels, these are usually really intense. They have, series and authors and books that, they would like to read and tons of recommendations. I knew I wasn't that much of a reader as somebody that has like a full, Bookstagram account or, a full channel that's really, really dedicated to their reading journal. So I am keeping this super simple. This does not even have to be fully filled in. If I want to read something just as a reminder to myself, I'll write it down. But this is in no way something that like, if I don't get these books read, I'll feel less accomplished. It's more of just like a reminder than a goal. My reading tracker, I do need to fill this in a little bit more, but it's been lovely filling in these boxes. I did do a recommendations page. Please feel free to leave in the comments any kind of reading recommendations you have. Again, this is not going to be something that I am going to be very strict with myself about. Like I said, I watch a lot of channels that have reading bullet journals that are just, these people are like super duper readers, and people suggest books to them all the time. They have lists and lists that they get through. To me, this is a really, really laid back. If something seems to click that someone says, I'll write it down. And it's more of just a reminder and a suggestion and less of like a pressure thing. I did not want this book to be pressure. And then each book that I do, I rate the plot, characters, setting, and my total feel about it. I write down the author, publisher, the year it was published, and if it's a part of a series. Then I just do thoughts about the book. I took a lot of inspiration from Hedda on Mochi Buju. She takes things like really personally. She doesn't try to be anybody else or do anything that doesn't fit. It's a very just easy, simple, personal way to do a reading journal, and I took a lot of inspiration from her on how I set mine up. I personally have been trying to do decorations that match each book. So both of the Shady Hollow books, the characters are animals, not people. So I, tried to do that, but it's not a hard rule. So for the boy, the mole, the fox, and the horse, I didn't really feel like I had anything that fit that. I didn't let it bother me. I didn't let it stop me. I just did very simple like reading and nature things for this book review. And that's just kind of how I'm keeping the entirety of this. This, again, was a Shady Hollow mystery, so I did specific animals that were in the book. The Great Gatsby, this was a sticker that I had in my shop for a while, and then I used Hippie Post printables of like 1920s flappers. Pride and Prejudice, again, from Hippie Post, she had these really beautiful printables, so I used that for my Pride and Prejudice spread. So wherever I can use, decor that matches the book, I have been, but if I don't, I'm not worrying about it. I have plenty of printables that are just like people reading or books or just kind of cozy, like hygge atmosphere things, and I'm absolutely okay if it doesn't fit either. This year, I do have a goal of doing a scripture journal. Nothing is pressure this year for me. I understand how sick I am. I understand the limitations that I have. So everything that I'm creating, there's zero pressure whatsoever. This is not going to have like a theme or a cohesiveness. It's just going to be if there's a scripture that I personally want to meditate on, whether it brings peace or gratitude or something I feel like I want to work on. And then the decor will be just whatever I feel like making it that day. So this is kind of more like a meditation journal. I save certain scriptures that, I read throughout my time in bed. And then, when I have time, I'll write them down, think about them as I create the spread, and Again, this is just going to be a really laid back journal. These are my Say What's on Your Heart journals. Now this is one that I finished just a couple days ago, so I've already kind of packaged it up. I always tie my journals when I'm finished with them before I store them. This was a rifle paper notebook. As you can see, I use quite a lot of rifle. I just like the size. I feel like they're really pretty. They're easy to finish. From Periwinkle's Envelope, which is Haley on Instagram, I got this really beautiful vintage, I don't know if it was a tablecloth or runner, but you know, it's hand stitched. It was just a really pretty piece of fabric, and she also handmade and hand sewn this mushroom, so I love the little charm there. This one's finished. I won't be opening it because I'll explain that in a minute. They're really personal. But the next one that I'm doing is going to be vintage themed. So this is my third version of this kind of journal. I call them Say What's on Your Heart journals because these are simply brain dumps. They're emotion dumps. The purpose of these is not to focus so much on the artwork. In every single page, I always do the same thing: a strip of washi tape, a vintage botanical cutout, a vintage stamp, and a figure drawing. This one happens to be a vintage theme, so the figure drawings are all authentic vintage, like figures from magazines or books. None of these things are printables. I had just kind of wanted to do something just a little out of the ordinary for this one. What I normally do, these two things are vintage, and the figure drawing hasn't been in my previous books, but I just wanted to have a little bit more fun with this one. The point of these is they are decorated, so they are still art journals, but every single page has the same elements. Every page is decorated in the same way. So there's no pressure for creativity, but it really is a book that just exists for emotions. If there is anything that I can recommend to anybody watching this video, it is to have notebooks like this for yourself that exist solely for emotional reasons. I personally deal with a lot of emotions from the amount of sickness that I've dealt with, from really kind of traumatic experiences trying to figure out what's wrong. And you know, I've had some really tough situations with doctors. If anybody has gone through chronic illness or knows anybody that has gone through chronic illness, you know that half the battle is the illness and half the battle is like advocating for yourself with doctors and kind of fighting for correct treatment, fighting for certain testing. You really just have to be an advocate for yourself, and it can take a lot out of you, and it can be quite traumatizing, if I'm being honest. I mean, anybody who's been in a similar situation to me, you know what I'm talking about. It is a fight to get proper health care. And you know, there are just things also that go on every day. If you are a human being, you're going to have negative emotions sometimes. You're going to go through anxiety, depression, just difficult moments, things that you're angry about. And I've personally found having these books has been a godsend and a lifesaver, because these books I just use with zero expectation and zero judgment. So the way you might do like a brain dump in a bullet journal, these are just kind of brain dumps, emotion dumps, anything that I feel like I need to get out. It doesn't have to be curbed because it's not public. It's not me saying something to somebody. It's not me, acting a certain way in a public situation. If I'm angry, I can be as angry as I need to be in here. If I'm frustrated, I can be as frustrated as I need to be in here. If I'm sad, I don't have to curb that sadness so it's not too intense for other people. I can just be as sad as I need to be. And having an outlet like these books has helped me be a more balanced person, because I've had a release of emotion and I've been able to get it out, and then that kind of calms me down enough where I can take a step back and look at things again. But just that emotional release and validation on these pages has been just a lifesaver. I really have to be honest. And if you don't have a notebook or a journal that's just dedicated to just being able to write, I would really, really recommend it. Again, with Rifle, anybody that's watched my channel in the past, you guys know that I am a big fan of everyday books. If you are new to this channel, you might be getting the sense that I'm really big into not putting pressure on things, just because for me, whenever something is pressured or too planned out, I tend to not really meet my goals because I just feel so much pressure with them, and then I wind up like feeling bad about something that's a hobby and really you should feel happy about, not bad about. So everyday books are journals that are for whatever you want them to be. I had a few spreads that had to do with MBTI, which is personality theory. I had done like a collab with Carrie from War Morning Sun about that. These can be as simple as cards, like my mom sends me a card every single month. There's always really beautiful Trader Joe's greeting cards in them, and she always decorates the outside, so I always save the little gift card that my mom sends me each month. But it can be anything. You know, here's another one from my mom. I always think that she has great taste with them. You know, this was just a fall spread of my favorite fall movies and TV shows. Everyday books can be just anything. This was a mail from Erica that I just wanted to save because I just thought it was really beautiful and I felt like putting it in my journal. So everyday books can be memories, they can be recipes, they can be favorites lists, they can look a little bullet journal-y, they can look a little junk journal-y. As you can see, I have lots of, you know, fibers and things sticking out everywhere. They can be happy mail, which I really love to chronicle in my journals, but it's kind of just anything and everything, and it's all just kind of smushed into one thing. This one I'm almost done with. I just have a little bit left here, so I'm still working on mine. But again, I don't put pressure on myself when to finish. I usually do write the date of the beginning, but then I'll write the date at the end too. And this just exists solely for pleasure. When I feel like journaling or I feel up to journaling and I don't really have something specific, I go to my everyday book. And these are almost kind of scrapbooks of sorts. When you look back, they're just filled with happy mail and cards, and like this one was purchases. So just different things that I had purchased, whether it was stationery related or clothing related. You know, I put those kinds of memories in there, and I found that looking back on these are a lot of fun. They're kind of like time capsules. I am still using my traveler's notebooks. Obviously, I am not traveling right now. If any of you guys are used to my channel or you're not new here, you know that I'm a really big proponent of local travel. I love day trips. I think there are definitely periods of time in our life, whether it's due to financial constraint, sickness, young children, you know, whatever, that we don't travel as far or as much as maybe we would like to. And taking day trips, just finding places new and fun to explore that are an hour or two away from our homes, I found to be really enjoyable and just a really great exercise in mindfulness and gratitude. And I've made, you know, a lot of videos on this channel about just local traveling and treating local towns like you would if you were farther away. I do have 3 traveler's notebooks that I use pretty regularly. Haley from Periwinkle's Envelope has a journal company, St. Christopher's Journals. This was a custom made journal. I wanted a field note size, so she did the color that I wanted, the size that I wanted. June is my birth month, so June's birthstone is a pearl and flower is a rose, so everything was just really custom made. I absolutely love this journal. The small one is from Haley. My standard traveler's notebook is from Traveler's Company. It's a Midori, so just a regular traveler's notebook. But this is probably my most used. I just am a fan of just Traveler's Company notebooks. I think most of us are. I have, you know, charms on here that have been, most of these are actually gifted to me from pen pals, from people that I know. You know, this one was from landlords that we had that we just absolutely loved. This little New York one with New York coordinates are from a friend. Some of these are from Haley herself, who did my other notebook. And this is from Tanya in Ukraine. She sent me, and I'm going to cry if I talk about it, but this really beautiful bird in red beads, and the fact that it came from Ukraine, and red beads just happen to have like a personal story with my own life and my grandma. This is just like one of the most special ones to me. I really personalize my traveler's notebooks, and this one is from Paper Republic, which is a really just beautiful company. I believe they're based in Vienna, but I'll leave the description in the description box. So these are just kind of always in use. And the last thing is just kind of a throwaway notebook. I've been taking this just in my purse. My coffee shop journal, as you guys could see, had pictures from the day. So I'm not bringing that journal with me to coffee shops. So I've been bringing just this journal, and I'm, just taking notes in coffee shops to basically transfer into the bullet journal when I get home. I also use this for doctor's visits, just things I have to write down. It's just kind of like a non-expensive notebook that I don't really have to worry if it gets too scratched or dented in my purse. And you might not always bring your traveler's notebook or bring something that you're working on, but having just kind of like a little throwaway notebook that you can kind of discard when you're done with it, just always in your purse, great way to just stick ephemera in. A lot of times I'll just put stickers or whatever in here and take notes, and yeah, it's just good to always have something with you. So those are all the journals that I am using for 2023. This is a long video. Sometimes I make long videos. If you have stuck it out to the end, I would love it if you left some kind of heart in the comments so I know that you stuck it out to the end. I appreciate anybody that takes the time to hang out with me. Not all of my videos are short videos because I really just enjoy not only sharing crafting but sharing life. I feel like who I am is somebody that enjoys not only sharing the journals that I use or the things that I make, but also the reasons behind them, the stories behind them, and I just kind of really like connecting and sharing life as well as sharing art. So yeah, leave a heart if you stuck around. And thank you so much for everyone that's been patient with me while I've been working on just healing and figuring out this illness. I can promise you not that I know when my next video will be out, but that whenever I am able to do one, I will do one because I just enjoy it so much. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. If not, as I always say, I hope that you're able to find moments of peace and joy in the midst of whatever you're dealing with. And mindfulness with journaling is definitely a tool that I use. I hope it can help you too. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon.